Where are we? This isn't my castle, and this isn't my body.
Relax, I have made some very expensive upgrades.
So you mean we don't have to rely on text boxes anymore?
Yes, that's right.
Wait. Did you say very expensive? Where did you get the money?
I have found your credit card.
What? I will escort you personally from now on. You will pay for this out of your ransom money.
You mean the money you will never get?
Silence! Now, what's the game we're in?
This is Late Shift, an interactive crime thriller where you decide how the protagonist reacts or what he's doing next. I know what you're thinking, but this one is neither cringe nor a disaster, so let's dive right in. You are Matt, a student working in a fancy car park, and his late shift is about to get interesting.
The most meaningful relationship I've ever had in my life, with a bunch of metal bimbos. Look at you, my beauty. You could keep me in college for over a decade.
Oh yes, we have to talk about the BMW. There's a reason it is featured so heavily in this scene and throughout the rest of the game, regardless of your decisions. And the reason is money, of course, or publicity to be more precise. BMW supported the production with a couple cars and promotion on their own social media channels. Thankfully, the sponsorship isn't dragged to the forefront that often. And here comes our first real decision.
What are you reading?
Yeah, Matt is a math student, so any relatability goes out the window right now. Back to the decision. And it's a classic too, the beautiful blonde who wants to borrow her boyfriend's car without him knowing. Would you give her the keys? It seems like a minor thing, but it is indeed used later on in the game, which unfortunately can't be said for the most decisions.
Okay.
Good boy.
I'm not your lapdog, lady. I just hope to bang you later.
What's in it for me?
I'll owe you one.
One what?
Nah, too easy.
One favour.
How do I know you're good for your favours?
You can bank my favours.
Finally, the real story begins.
What do you want from me? I want you to tie her up.
Yes, you can be the hero here, but it doesn't matter too much. It will all play out the same eventually up until a certain point. Here you can either drive him out of the car park or escape yourself if you decide differently, like I did in the second playthrough. This is what happens if you escape.
Get in the fucking car.
The major difference is in which car you'll arrive, but you will end up in this house no matter what. Understandably, the beginning has a more or less fixed outcome in order to get the story going. But it would have been fun to totally screw with the story and kill the entire game before it even begins. Pretty high class for a crime outfit, isn't it? This is some Ocean's 11 shit right there. I'll make it quick. The guy with the gun looking like a cliché burglar out of old comics broke his arm trying to steal the getaway car. And now they force you at gunpoint to be the replacement. You can object and try to flee, but to no avail. But you can also totally lean into it and even negotiate for burglar guy's pay cut. Again, it doesn't matter what you do, because in the end you're off to the heist.
So, for £950,000, this marvellous 12th century cabinet with its hidden compartment, which is
950 grand.
for its time.
Just try to keep your powder dry.
I'm sorry. If I had that kind of money, I wouldn't spend it on a fucking sideboard. Sorry.
Why don't you try not talking at all?
Your goal is to steal a unique Ming Dynasty porcelain rice bowl from an auction house. By doing so, you will anger its new and powerful owner, the Choi family. So what's the plan now?
Okay, and then?
Then you're going to take out the security guard.
Alright, seems right up Nulam's alley. And before you ask, you can also ignore this and seek help in the offices on the first floor. But this will change very little, so into the basement it goes. You can try to alert the guard, but again, it will only slightly delay an ultimately fixed outcome. Throughout the whole heist, you get several chances to alert people or sabotage the efforts of your partners, but in the end, you'll steal the bowl and will be off in your expensive getaway cars.
Simon, I'll come to the front to get you.
So naturally, while celebrating, their car crashes and falls down an overpass. Don't worry, the BMW is fine, it was only an old banged up transporter. So all the others are dead except for the lady, and even the bowl has survived the fall. So let's get rid of it and go see Mr. Wu.
Welcome to Hong Kong City. Table for 2.
We're here to see someone?
Table for 4. Follow me, please.
I know they probably didn't intend to make this waiter a Chinese cliché, but that's all I can see, sorry.
Have fortune cookie.
And of course, no scene in a Chinese restaurant would be complete without a fortune cookie.
Fortune does not come twice. Misfortune does not come alone.
I know that feeling, right, Hazard?
老細，呢個咪蔡家嘅碗？
Why have you brought this here?
Because we had a deal.
I made no such deal. I have never seen you before.
And surprise, the greasy stereotype cook of a stereotype Chinese restaurant isn't the mastermind behind a high-stakes heist. He's just there to make you understand how fucked you are right now. So let's lay low for a while. I'm sure the Choys will forget about it sooner or later.
To the Choi family, possession of that bowl is a question of honor. They have fought wars for it. Its price is beyond measure. And I know how much they paid for it tonight. And I do not intend to add my life to the bill.
Just shut up, could you?
Insert obligatory love interest here.
Because I felt like it. No time for love, Dr. Jones.
And yes, it is possible to kiss her if you've made the right decisions. It's also possible to not go to the motel at all. The middle section is quite flexible within the boundaries of the story. The order of the places you visit will vary, or some will be skipped entirely. Or you simply go there alone. I would say all the content from after you get out of the car wreck up until close to the end are the best sections of the game and where most of the fun and sense of discovery is. Also, the stereotype cook is dead. And you are next in line, it seems. As you can see, action scenes are not the director's strong suit. Who directed this anyway? Tobias Weber. Never heard of him, never directed anything again. He's also one of the writers, and the other writer is Michael Robert Johnson, who wrote the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes movie as well. Nice. Perhaps this is why the whole story somehow reminds me of Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. Nice bathrobe you got there, but it takes a bit of your elderly respect away.
Music. Now for the final time, where is the real bowl?
I don't understand.
Where is the bowl you took from the auction, not the copy you had in your pocket?
A copy? That's a twist I've never seen before.
Where?
Ah, the obligatory torture scene. The game really wants to tick all the boxes for a run-of-the-mill crime thriller. But to be fair, the torture instruments are quite nice.
The longer you have bowl, the longer you have pain. Very simple mathematics.
You can see where they cover his fingers so you can see they are not hurting him, but that's fine, we're not in Hollywood here.
Fucking hell. The bowl is ours.
And now for the swords.
To tell the truth, it's free. The other is punished.
The classic prisoner's dilemma. Game theory first term. Whatever I tell them lives or dies on what Mei Ling tells them, and vice versa.
It sounds more complicated than it is. You can either protect her or not, but in the end you'll still need to find the bowl.
It's Pa. He's the one who fucked us. He fucked us all.
How do you know that?
Because I'm the one who forged the copy for him.
Now she tells us. She could have spilled the beans ages ago. It makes no sense to protect him except for getting more money out of the deal. But all of this flew out the window after the accident. And visiting Mr. Wu made no sense at all, except for keeping up her story, which, again, would be irrelevant after the crash. Wu was not involved at all. Of course, with different decisions, this scene can also end on a different note.
It's Pa. He's the one who fucked us.
Just keep walking.
Alright, so the next logical thing would be to confront the old geezer, right? Wrong, because after meeting a ruffian on the street, Matt remembers the employee handling the bowl and has the suspicion it's still in the auction house. This comes very much out of left field, but it's a sudden inspiration, so why not? How to find him? Just call him, I guess. As you can see, there is no number listed for him. He dials a number anyways and calls his home address. How? I'm sure there are multiple people called Leclerc in London.
319.
Hi.
Remember her? I called her your first real decision, and giving her the car keys pays off now, because she lets us through to the auction house guy.
See?
Oh yeah, that's the stuff, old man. That's how Heather got his pawn before the internet.
What are you doing here?
You remember me, right?
You shouldn't be here. Nurse? Nurse?
This guy here is the worst actor in the whole movie. I have no issues with all the others. It's not Oscar stuff, but it's still very decent, especially compared to other interactive movie games. But this guy here is just the worst. Maybe that's the reason I like taking him off the oxygen a bit too much. After we have the information and his keycard, we're off to the auction house. But how to get past the receptionist to the elevator?
Mr. Quinn is in room 13.
Let's sneak past her through a brightly lit and empty room. I think he takes a page from the Assassin's Creed school of sneaking. I mean, look at that skill! But it was all in vain because I couldn't get to the bowl or learned anything new. So finally, now it's the time to confront the old man.
Good morning.
Have an appointment with Samuel Parr?
Mr. Parr does not receive guests before 10 o'clock.
I want to see him, and I want to see him right now.
Smooth, man, smooth.
You intruded at the crack of dawn, my friend. I assume it's urgent.
Because what was stolen was a copy. The original is safe and in your possession.
This is quite the little work of fiction, isn't it? What do you hope to gain by this? Have you any idea how much that cost?
Yeah, really smooth. That will make him talk, right? After presenting the facts, he's giving us the nobody will believe you talk. But if we keep intimidating him and try to get the Choi family involved, he finally cracks.
The Choi's have to say about all of this.
The Choi's will never believe you.
And offers us the bribe, an offer we can't refuse.
Clearly, keep me out of this. I'll give you £1 million if you keep my involvement from the Choi's. You could take £100,000 right now, right out of the safe. Rest later.
And we take it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
End of story. We are rich and he gets off the hook. The Chinese grandpa gets his bowl back and we live another day. What about the lady, you ask? I guess we'll never know. At least not in this ending. The different endings are a blessing and a curse in this game. A blessing because of the replay value and how they let the story conclude from different angles. And a curse because there is no chapter select or checkpoints you could start from, forcing you to start over completely. Which is a shame because most of the 7 endings are determined by 1 or 2 decisions right at the end of the story. The whole thing is only around 90 minutes long, so it's no big deal, but you can only see the same scenes so many times, especially the beginning. And if you're curious, the scene at the old man's house can play out completely different if you are trying to be a dickhead like I was in my other playthrough. Overall, it's an enjoyable ride and definitely better than most interactive movies out there. Back in 2016, this was shown in movie theaters and people could vote with their smartphones, which must have been a far better experience than simply watching it on your screen. It was nice, I played through it 3 times, but now I don't want to touch that sort of game again in the near future.